Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Gap. I am Corey. This is Brandon. I want to let Brandon go into this first topic.
Yep. So today, what we just kind of want to discuss was, are we living as a community, right? Are we living or are we just existing, right? So the reason, the thought process I wanted to touch on that subject is because, um, I see us as a community, and you know, we have so many entrepreneurs. You have the people working your regular 9 to 5s, which is good. Um, but people like around my age, I can use myself for an example. Um, Coming out of college, working your 9 to 5, right, and then have
Mhm.
aspirations of wanting to do better with my life. But whenever I tell a family member or someone about my aspirations that may be in that older generation, that I want to own my own business, right? It's always, well, just make sure you always have that stable income, or something along those lines, that kind of discourage you from pursuing what you really want to do as far as that your business. And I
Mhm.
get it. I get the concerns. It is a risk, right? I'm not going to say that it's not. It is a risk in doing so, but at the same time, I don't want to be 40, 45, and then just looking back in my life and saying, "Damn, I should have took that risk." Right? So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I ask myself, as community, are we really doing everything we can to not just be content with our current situation, right?
Mm.
Are we trying to go above and beyond? Are we trying to be different? Are we trying to create a lifestyle that we truly want and not being content of what we have? Now,
Mm.
granted, right? Everybody working a 9 to 5 don't want to own a business.
True.
That's perfectly fine.
Yep.
I'm more so speaking on the people that is working at 9 to 5, right? But they're just existing. You know, are they living or trying to live in their purpose of what they really want to do?
All right. So what's crazy is not crazy, but unfortunately, in our community, it's a problem. We are more existing. Um,
Hmm.
I think we are bred or we were taught to survive and not thrive.
Hmm.
And that that mindset is from the older generation, and they keep passing it on. I get I get you want your offspring, you want your children to be stable and
Hmm.
secure. And they believe that that means working for a company for 20, 25 years. Now, the thing is, things change. That may have been true in their day when
Yeah.
people had pensions and people retired from the same company.
Hmm.
But, dude, these companies fire you in 5 years. There's massive layoffs going on as we speak
Yeah.
from billion-dollar companies, Tesla, Google. Like, they're laying people off. There's no loyalty.
Hmm.
So you can't tie yourself to somebody else's dream. I get it. I can give you an example even in my family, like a cousin wanted to be an entrepreneur and go into business, and his father is like, no, that's stupid. You need to make sure your family's taken care of.
Hmm.
I can see both sides of that, and I kind of play in the middle there. I
Hmm.
always make sure that my family is secure, but I have to take the risk of trying to be successful because
Hmm.
I don't want to have that regret, like you said, of me
Hmm.
looking back on, well, I coulda, shoulda.
Right.
And unfortunately, not a lot of people can understand that. And one of the worst things about um, trying to be in your purpose is your friends and family. aren't going to understand because no one can see your vision but you. They can't see through your eyes.
That's true.
So you got to be careful about who you're talking to and who you're sharing stuff to because not everyone, you don't need to share everything with everybody.
That's true. That's
So even if I may not have the same vision, I can believe in you and know that you want to do something, and that's enough. I don't have to have that vision. I should just want to support somebody else that's trying to do something else. But there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 job. But the bigger question which you pose is about purpose. Everyone does have a purpose, but because you're just trying to get by, a lot of people don't have the concept of pursuing a purpose.
hmm
Um, and it's weird. I don't know if it's not a new concept of trying to find your purpose, but I think even coming up in Philly, I wasn't thinking like that because I was just thinking, man, how do I get in a better situation? I mean, when you're thinking like that, you can't think of what's my purpose, that thing that makes me happy, because I'm trying to survive and keep my head above the water. Now, now that I got out of a certain situation and I'm comfortable, now I'm thinking about what is my purpose because that's what I want to pursue now. But unfortunately, we're just not taught to pursue that because of the conditions that we're in. And it's sad because we all do have a purpose, but very little even think on pursuing or even trying to figure out what that thing is because it's not easy to
hmm
find your purpose. That's a job in itself to figure out what that is. What makes you happy? Just all right, think about all the people you know.
hmm
And if you really were asked them, like, what do you enjoy doing? What brings you happiness? A lot of them are going to get blank faces
Yeah.
because they're so used to just going on their day to day and doing what they need to do. They're not thinking about, I'm really good at this or I'm really good at that. Maybe I should pursue this. That's
hmm
not, it's just not in their DNA, unfortunately. And it's sad. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the 9 to 5 because we're going to need people working
Yeah.
those 9 to 5 jobs or everything halts. And that 9 to 5 could be someone's purpose. Depends on what it is. So
hmm
I don't want to, demean anybody in saying that because you're not out here being a singer or a rapper that you're
Yeah.
not in the purpose, because that may not be your purpose.
Right.
But it's a sad thing when you're really on that thing that not everybody is going to be on board with it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a discipline that comes along with it, and a lot of people don't have it. And like you said, you told family members, and they're not trying to like talk you out of it, but it can discourage somebody. And
hmm
that stops a lot of people from even trying to attempt to be in their purpose, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's like an inward battle and also with the people surrounding you in your area.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and I
just
just see
going.
it more in our community. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Wait, what you say?
And unfortunately, I just see it more of a problem in our community than others.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I mean, just going back to family, um, not just family, but like you just said, people in our community, right? You tell someone, hey, yo, I got this great idea, uh, X, Y, and Z, right? And they probably
Mhm.
respond like, oh, okay. I mean, whatever, right?
Right.
I hope it worked out for
Right. Yeah.
worked out
Yep.
for you. And you probably like, dang, like is my idea dumb or, or just whatever, just doubting yourself. But even though if the people's closest to you may even like look at it sideways, that really shouldn't stop anyone, right, from trying to pursue their purpose. Because some people just need to see some action, or some people just need to see not so much the end result all the time, but just like the process, the journey, right? For them to be like, oh, okay, I know what you was talking about, or I see what you're trying to do.
Yep.
Keep going, right? Because someone like me, right? I'm a visual person. Somebody may come to me with an idea. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's what's up. Like, go go through with it. But once they start going through with, I'm, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do, yeah. But I say that to say a lot of people trying to live in a purpose, they get discouraged. You can't really take it to heart when someone else really doesn't believe in it to start off, because most people are just visual. They just have to see it, and it is what it is. It is what it is. So
Yeah, true. I
I
mean,
kind of wanted
unfortunately.
to, what you say?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? That's why faith without works is dead. Like, you gotta put in the work for people to see some vision in it, and maybe even to invest in it, right? So I kind of want to ask this question, to you. What does it mean to, in your own words, what does it mean to live in your purpose?
Mm. For me personally, that means that I, I alone, have come up with what I should be doing, how I should be living, what I should be pursuing,
Hmm.
not to appease anybody else.
Hmm.
That it's strictly between me and God on what I feel as though I should be doing.
Right.
And if in that purpose I lose relationships or, whatever, then that's just what it is, because I need to be pursuing this thing no matter the cost.
Hmm.
Because I believe when you are working in your purpose, it's for something bigger than you. And
Hmm.
that's what drives me in that area. Um, but like I said, it's not an easy thing, because discouragement and because honestly, when you're on your purpose, it's a lonely journey, because everybody can't come with you, because everybody doesn't have that vision and everybody doesn't understand what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
But to me personally, it's just something that you really hold dear, and it drives you. It's something that motivates you, but not just for yourself, because you know what will come from that, and you being in your purpose will help other people too. So it's almost like if you don't pursue your purpose, other people will suffer from it. So it's
Hmm.
not so much for me, I'm doing it for other people. Like you said, some people can't see certain things until they see it. All
Hmm.
right, well, I'll show you then. Then maybe you can go back. Well, if he did it, maybe I can do it too.
Right. Right. So the biggest thing that I picked up from what you just said is just not only living in your purpose for you, but more so having a big influence on other people.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's like a big part of my definition of it too. Is like, first and foremost, l- me living in my purpose means that I'm fulfilling what God had in plan for me, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't fulfill that, right? So a number of different factors can come into play with that. The way they're thinking. Maybe their thinking is negative. You don't think positive enough. Their
Yep.
actions probably don't work hard enough. You probably don't sacrifice enough. Um, and then just those two factors alone that I just named, you're probably not going to influence anyone, right? So
Oh, you want to turn people off. It's quite the opposite.
exactly, like, life is about you know giving back, right? But
Yep.
still living your purpose well enough that it's not work to you, that you can still make a good living off of it. Because of course, I'm not going to say that money is like not important, but I don't think that's the main component to living your purpose. I think what you was just saying, the main component is like, all right, how can I influence other people?
Right. And
Right.
the whole thing, success is different to everyone. A lot of
Yeah.
people will measure that differently. If you're in your purpose, money will come, but it doesn't have to be an abundant amount. It could be an amount that makes you happy,
Mhm.
Because you got to think about this. If you're in your purpose and you're doing something you really enjoy, you can make less money, but you're going to be that much happier than someone making 5 times what you
Mhm.
make and miserable. Your
Mhm.
life is richer because of that. So money
Yeah.
isn't always the object. Yeah, you want to be comfortable. You want your family to be comfortable. I will always stress wealth because
Mhm.
wealth isn't about you. It's about your generations that come after you. Not so much about you trying to get on. You want to look out for other people,
Mhm.
but you can not make that much money and love what you're doing, and you have a whole different lifestyle. Guess
Right.
what? You're not stressed, no high blood pressure, you're enjoying life as
Right.
opposed to somebody that making 12 times what you make and just can't stand their job every day, high blood pressure, stress.
Mhm.
Success is what you define it to be. It's not always about dollars and cents. It's about your life and the
Exactly.
quality of your life.
Mhm. So, okay, so now that we define, what living in your purpose mean, right? So, what do you see in our community that are just some one or two reasons why people don't fulfill that? Like, what are some distractions that you see that we go through?
Uh Man, I think us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I honestly think
like individually, right? You mean, or
as a collective, um, I don't think we're the most supportive, period.
mm,
Um, Outside of what we think you should be. Um, Outside of selling drugs, outside of rapping, outside of playing ball.
mm-hmm,
Um, there are so many different things, interests that we could be pursuing and people could be interested in, but since it's not the norm, it may not get the support that it should from
mm-hmm,
us because people don't understand. But
mm-hmm,
also at the same time, because they've never seen it. So you want to do what? Nah, I never heard of that before. So you're
right,
not going to get the support that you should, where it should be. Oh, yo, that's what's up. I don't even
mm-hmm,
know what that is, but man, that sounds like that. If that's your thing, that's your thing.
right,
But it's the lack of vision, and it stems from the families first, and most times the family just aren't going to. Families don't push pursuing your purpose because I get where they're coming from. They're
mm-hmm,
coming from different generations of. There were entrepreneurs back in the day. There were, but that wasn't the norm, especially for our people, right?
mm-hmm,
We were just workers, unfortunately. So you have that generation having children and instilling in them that you got to get a good 9 to 5 job and you got to work. And it's not about you being happy, you got to provide for your family. So
So let
that's
me
the
ask you this.
mindset that's been passed down.
Let
Say
me
again.
ask that, right? Just going based off of what you just said, right? So, what do you
Hmm.
think are some ways to kind of combat that in today's age? So, people with families, let's just say, husband and wife, 3 kids, right?
Hmm.
Husband wants to pursue something he always wanted to. Think it's a great idea. Think it can blow, but he got to still provide for his family. Like, how can that work?
uh 9 to 5, do your job. After 5 o'clock, that's you. That's all you.
Mhm.
That's your hustle. That's your grind. This is a thing. Nothing worth having. If you're going to be successful, there has to be a sacrifice to something. I don't care what anyone says. There
Mhm.
is no perfect balance to anything.
Mhm.
You're going to have to make a sacrifice. So 5 o'clock, you come home, eat, kiss your kids, tell your wife, look, I'm about to, I'm about to go in the office, or
Mhm.
what I mean,
Mhm.
and you got to do what you got to do, and it's I don't know a nicer way to say it. It's going to have to suffer a little bit now to for it to be beneficial later on. You got to put that work in now, though.
Yeah.
So for a year, 5 years, you may have to, you know what I mean? That's what it is. But it can be done. If you really want it, it can be done, but it's not going to be easy. And
Hmm.
anything worth having is not going to be easy. So you just have to get that in your mind. That's number one. It's not just going to be given to you, but you still can pull that off. And you have to have the right partner too,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So if your wife is not on board with that and does not want to hear that, it's a problem. It ain't gonna happen,
Right.
you
And I,
know.
yeah, yeah, you're right. And I was just speaking to one of my neighbors not too long ago, and he kind of like sparked some motivation into me because he owns his own business as well.
Mhm,
And I was just he recommended this book for me. I think called Between a Dream and a caught between a career and a job
mm,
or something like that.
mhm,
Um, but he was just explaining to me how he sacrificed, right? Like he wake up in the morning 5 a.m. before he clock in at 9, and then he'll be working most of the day. On his break at work, he'll be working on his business a little bit more, and
mhm.
then he go home, spend time with the wifey, and then from 10 to 12 a.m. he's working on his business again. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at myself, because I always try to evaluate myself first. Like, what can I do better? And I was telling him, like, when I was telling him this, I felt embarrassed because how the lack of sacrifice I was kind of like giving myself. Like, I tell him I work most of the day, right? I work
Mhm,
from 11 to 9. Before 11, I try to work out. I
mhm,
don't get home till like 10 o'clock at night.
mhm,
So sometimes I don't have time to work on my business, as I say, until the weekend that I'm off.
mhm. Right.
And he was like, you can, why don't you wake up at 5 a.m.?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's kind of early. But, as I thought about it, why not? You know,
Quick takeaways from that. Number one, when you have those type of conversations with people, what what you can't do is compare yourself.
mhm.
That's number one, because you're talking to someone who's, I'm going to assume, probably considerably older than you.
He's like 36.
Okay, what's that, like 10 years
Yeah.
maybe? Okay, so that's 10 years worth of experience that they have over you.
Right.
So you don't know what they've gone through in order for them to get to that point. You understand? Like what you're doing right now is you're just starting out in a game. You're
Mhm.
grinding right now. You didn't get to the point of learning how to be efficient with your time because you just haven't had that experience yet. So you can't compare yourself initially what other people are doing or what you're not doing because you only know what you know, right? Now I want some ice cream, but hold on, let me run that back. All right. But oh yeah, now what I was saying was you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know yet. So you can't compare yourself or look at yourself like, oh man, I shouldn't have been. You don't know. You don't know yet. Because you're newly married. You just you got a new job and stuff. There's so much that you have to learn what's good for you first
Right.
because when you get that thing settled, then especially if you have that drive to accomplish something on this purpose, you're going to start making adjustments because that's going to be something that you hunger for.
Hmm.
So he had a drive for something, and that's why he made the sacrifices and did what he did.
Hmm.
So it's not going to be the same for you, and
Right.
yours might be a different. You'll probably get in line with a lot that he's doing, but
Mhm.
just don't like, oh man, I should be doing A, B, and C. It's a different grind. You can't compare somebody that's that much older,
Yeah.
been in it for a while, and pursuing something as to somebody that just started. So
Right.
that's like saying
Right.
uh, uh somebody that started on day one at the job, dag, I'm not at the same level that somebody's been in this position for 10 years. You're not going to know what somebody's been in that position at 10 years. You're just not going to have that experience.
Right.
I don't care how advanced you may be. It's not going to happen. So,
Right. Yeah.
so don't do that. But I get it though. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's facts though. What you said
Yeah.
there.
No, there's a lot of people who do that, and it's like I get it because I'm somebody that I'm harder on myself than I am with other people, but I have
Mhm.
to learn like put stuff in perspective. Like, well, they already figured this stuff out then, and I'm just getting to it now. So, you gotta give yourself a little grace when it comes to stuff.
Mhm.
An important thing is to learn a lesson from it and keep moving. So you got that information from them. Now you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I do make an adjustment.
Right.
So this
Right.
long as you're gathering information and using it and learning lessons, that's the important aspect of that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.